Hey party people, what is up and welcome to Online Dating 101 episode 3. Roll that intro. I am going to help you improve your messaging when it comes to dating apps. If you have not seen my last videos in this series, I'll link the playlist down below, but basically I have talked about what to put in your online dating profiles, like your bio and all that stuff. And then I have that was episode 1, and then episode 2 was about pictures, like do's and don'ts, and some like tips on like taking pictures, editing pictures. That one was 2 parts because I had a lot to say about that. Those episodes are more so to like help you get more matches. And then this episode, the messaging is really like what makes it successful or unsuccessful in my opinion. Like, the other steps are important because in order to be successful, you need matches. But this is what is kind of going to determine like if people message you back, if like your conversations go more than a few messages, and if those conversations lead to anything, like going out on a date, becoming friends if that's what you're looking for, ending up in a relationship, like all of that. The messaging is like the most important part for that. So here are my qualifications. I am not a professional. I don't know if that exists, but if that does, that is not me. I just enjoy dating apps. I think it's fun and I have had successes. My past videos I have said that I was dating someone currently at those times from Bumble. I'm no longer in that relationship, but I would not consider that to be like an unsuccessful dating app experience. It just wasn't the right relationship, but that had nothing to do with the fact that we met on a dating app. So really, like, I'm not giving you advice on dating and like how to have a successful relationship. Like, I don't have any qualifications for this at all, but I definitely don't have qualifications for that. But I'm successful at getting like having interesting conversations that lead to like a date or a relationship or a friendship. That is all I'm claiming to be successful in. Another one of my past relationships, we met on Tinder, and then there's another guy that I met on Bumble that we never actually dated, but we became friends and like we still stay in touch today. So yeah, I would consider that successful, and I've been outside of like those people that like are lasting, I've had like many other dates and just like conversations that don't die after a few messages. Disclaimer, these are all just my opinions based on my experiences. If you don't agree with me, that's cool. If my tips don't help you, I'm sorry. This is just what works for me, and my experience is only for the most part as a girl messaging guys. I think I may have helped a few guys message girls, but I don't know if that was successful at all. And I have never been in any like messaging situations that were not like between a guy and a girl. So yeah, if you do not fall into that category, this will probably still be helpful, but that's where my perspective comes from. So let's get into it. You finally get some matches and you want to message them. One of the worst things that you can message is hi, hey, what's up, how's it going, anything like that. Those don't really require any effort to send. If the other person is not going to put more effort into the initial conversation than you did, and you're not gonna like add more effort after they respond, it's not like really gonna go anywhere. You're gonna say hey, they're gonna say hey, then it's gonna go like what's up, not much, or like oh just like hanging out. And it's really not gonna lead anywhere unless like one person like breaks that and asks an interesting question or says something interesting. And sure, like it could, the other person could say something interesting later on, or you might come up with something more interesting to say. But personally, when people send me just like, hey, or what's up, or like, how's it going? Most of those messages I just don't respond to because like, sure, I could put in the effort to make an interesting conversation, but it doesn't pique my interest in the person. When I have been looking to date, like if I look at their profile and I'm like, oh, I am more interested in this person, then yeah, I might like put in more effort, but I don't know. I just don't think that starting with an opener like that is the best thing to do. So here is what I would recommend you do instead. Think about why you swiped right on them, and like look through their profile, see if like maybe you have something in common that you can mention, or something in their profile that like you find intriguing and you're like, hey, like I see that you're into like this hobby, like tell me about that, like that sounds really cool. Maybe they like to do something that you've always wanted to get into and you're like, hey, how did you get into that? If they don't have things like written in their bio, or like their bio doesn't really have anything interesting that you feel like you could start a conversation with, look at their pictures, see if maybe they traveled somewhere at one point. Like if there's some landmark in the background of one of their pictures, they can be like, oh hey, like you went there, I've been there too, or I've always wanted to go there, or something like that. And ask them a question about it. I think like asking questions is one of the best ways to go about starting a conversation because they have something to respond to. But it depends on the type of question. Like, how are you? What are you up to? Those are all questions, but they're not very good questions. Another thing, you don't want it to be like such a broad question that like it's more work for them to answer it or like to think of what you're asking. Here's an example. Well, this isn't exactly a question, but it's kind of a question. I hate when people say, so tell me about yourself. For some people that might be a good question, so this might just be a personal thing. And I can see where it's coming from, where it could be a good question because it shows you like what the person who's responding thinks is like an interesting or important thing to know about them. But I don't know, it just feels too broad and I just don't know how to respond to it. Like I don't want to say like the wrong thing or a weird thing or something, I don't know. And a lot of times if I see that, I just won't respond because I don't want to think of what to say to it. If I do respond, I don't tell you about me. I say, what do you want to know? And then the person asks like some questions. So if you're gonna ask that, like ask what you would say when I say, so what do you want to know? Ask those questions first instead of saying, tell me about yourself. Just like skip that part of it. Okay, I know that also a common thing to say in the first message is to compliment the other person, which like, sure, it's nice to be complimented, but in my opinion, like, although I get that some people just swipe right on everyone, or most people, but in my opinion, like, swiping right is an indication that, hey, like, I find you attractive. That's kind of a compliment already that the person swipes right on you. When your first message is a compliment, it's just not like the best conversation starter in my opinion because, okay, they compliment me and then I say thank you, and either I compliment them back or I just say thank you and then like maybe they'll respond with something else, and maybe they'll ask a question or I could ask a question, but that's not the best way to grab my attention, at least personally. Again, this might just be a personal thing. I just think that starting with a question or something funny is better than a compliment. I don't like getting pickup lines unless it's like a funny original pickup line, or not something creepy or like sexual. I hate sexual pickup lines. Don't start with that, just don't. But if you can send something that's like actually funny, maybe something based on like my profile or something, I can appreciate those. The main purpose of your message, especially your first message, is that you want to stand out from the rest of the people they're messaging. You want to pique their interest and be someone that they want to invest their time in to message. Here's an important thing. When you're messaging, do not lie to impress them. If you see that they are interested in something and you have never done that in your life, don't say that you like to do that too. If you lie to them, and then you end up going on a date with them and maybe it even leads to a relationship, at some point they're gonna find out. Once they do find out, you're gonna like have planted this like seed of kind of doubt and like distrust of them towards you, because they'll be like, well, you lied to me in the first like conversation we had. Like, how do I know he's not lying to me now? Like, is everything else he told me in that conversation true? Is everything else he's told me since then true? I went out with someone one time who I later found out had lied to me in literally the second message. And like after that, I just like kind of couldn't trust anything they said, because I was like, well, you lied to me then. Why would you tell me the truth about anything else? Another one of my things that least favorite things that people often start a conversation with is a GIF. If you send it along with like a question or something, that's fine. But if you only send a GIF, or, okay, either a GIF or just an emoji or a few emojis, don't do that. Like, that shows so little effort that you can't even type out a word or a couple words. And like, what am I supposed to respond with to that? Like, another GIF? And then we just sent, I'm pretty sure one time I had a conversation with someone where we literally just sent GIFs back and forth and then the conversation died. And that's probably what's gonna happen. Or they're not gonna respond, or they are gonna have to start the conversation, which again, like, that's fine. Like, either person can start the conversation, but I probably wouldn't respond to something like that unless I was really interested in the person. Okay, here are a few questions you can ask if they have like nothing in their bio that you can ask about. You've looked at their pictures and maybe it's just like all selfies and there's nothing really interesting you can say about that. And you don't want to ask something basic like, how are you? What are your hobbies? You can ask them what their favorite breakfast food is, what their favorite ice cream is, what their favorite board game is. I talked to someone about board games the other day. That was a fun conversation. Just like ask them something random that they wouldn't expect to be asked about. And something like that's not just a yes or no question is best. I mean, kind of all the ones that I just said could be answered with just like a word or two, but hopefully they'll actually respond with something interesting. When you're not sending the first message and they ask you a question like that, answer with something that is not just a couple words. So let's say I was asked what my favorite breakfast food was. I personally would say like, well, I really like pancakes, but I don't like to eat them at breakfast because like I just feel like gross after eating pancakes early in the morning. I like to eat those at night as dessert, and I like to put chocolate chips on them, but I don't like it when chocolate chips are inside the pancakes. I like to put it on top, and you have to put it on right after you take it off the stove so that it'll melt onto it, and that's like the perfect way to make pancakes in my opinion. See, that is way better than just saying, I like pancakes. If you want the conversation to go somewhere, answer questions fully, like tell a story, Maybe have it spark something else that you want to talk about. Maybe have that spark a question that you can ask them. Basically, give them something to respond to in your message. Whether it's like a question for them or something they can like relate to about your response. So that's like pretty much what I have to say about your first messages. You really just want to stand out, ask questions, something interesting, maybe original, unique, personal. And then it's a good idea to ask what they're looking for on the dating app early on, especially if you are looking for like something specific, like a relationship or something. Like, you don't want to waste your time on someone who like really doesn't want that, and like you want to put your time and energy into conversations with people who are looking for the same things as you. So it's a good idea to ask that early on before you get, especially before you get like invested in the person and you're like, oh, like I really like this person, we have all these things in common, and then you find out, oh, they have no desire to be in a relationship and that's what you really want. And also, like, when someone says like what they're looking for, believe them. If they say that they're not looking for a relationship and you are, it's possible that they'll change their mind, but unlikely, and you're probably just gonna end up getting disappointed. I think that's everything that I can think of to say about messaging. Be original, don't be boring and basic. Try to stand out, don't be creepy, be bold. If you have questions for stuff that I didn't address in this video, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I'll either answer you in the comments or maybe make another video about messaging if I have anything else to say. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up. You can also check out my other videos in the series down below, and I'll also link my story time playlist because I have at least one story time up about a date I went on with a guy I met on some dating app. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and click that link. You can also subscribe if you want to see more from me, especially if you want to see the next video in the series, which is going to be about safety. That's probably the last video in this series, but you never know. Maybe I'll think of more things to do. Thanks for watching. Peace. Bye.